3, 2, 1, go! The flag was waved. Danny and I revved our engines and shot off down the track. In no time, we left the other competitors behind and were neck and neck with each other. You really think you can beat me, Malia? Danny's voice floated towards me over the roaring wind. I grinned. I know I can beat you! The kart track wove around a hill and through a group of trees, lapping 3 times like a video game. Danny swerved in front of me, shifting left and right to prevent me from getting a go around him. We rounded a turn, and Danny's high speed caused him to ram to the tires on the opposite end. I and several other people passed him, whooping with joy. I looked back and saw him gritting his teeth, that familiar fire in his eyes. Oh boy. It took about a minute for him to weave back around the other racers and come neck and neck with me. Don't think you can get around me. Danny said nothing, just revved his engines further. We were rounding a turn, so I slowed down to make it. Danny instead sped up, then slammed his brakes and swerved. He drifted through the turn, losing half as much speed as I did, and pulled ahead of me. What? No fair! I tried to catch up to him in the last lap, but it was hopeless. I was as far behind him as the other racers were behind me. By the time he won, he had nearly lapped them. As we crept out of the carts, I pouted. Danny approached me with an easygoing smile. Would you look at that? No fair. I thought you said you wouldn't go all dark-eyed on me. Yeah, well, I couldn't help it. I wasn't about to lose our bet. Aw, I really wanted to try that new sushi place. We're still going there. Really? Of course. Whatever makes you happy. But you can bet I'll collect later on tonight. He smiled at me and I flushed. Alright. I wasn't sure we were dreaming this or what was going on. Danny followed me into my room and firmly closed the door behind him, loosening the collar of his shirt. Now, look here. I held up my hands, creeping back towards the bed. Oh, I'm looking. Whoa, hello. You were wearing a towel under those pants? Amazing. He was already undressing and slowly coming towards me. I grinned, but tried not to show it too much. I loved these little cat and mouse games. I said tonight we were going to play a board game, and I won the bet, so we get to play the game I pick, right? Well, yes. And this is the game I pick. He lifted me in his arms and gently tossed me into the bed. I squeaked as I fell. Not fair! Definitely fair. You agreed, after all. He began removing my clothes and kissing my neck. Whoa, hello. He worked fast. Well, yes, but... My mind started to fog, and Danny smiled at me. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. I flushed and helped him get the rest of my clothes off. That night was definitely a fun way to relax before final exams. Nice. Those are fun time scenes I can get behind. That was perfectly fine. Good grief, days are flying. We're gonna be done before you know it. Late that night, Danny came into my room. How did your test go? He smiled like a shark. Oh, great. I knew you'd do great. You always do. Can't be sure until the results are posted. I'm sure. And how was your day? You know, the usual. I told him about Aasi making a rude comment about the size of my butt, and the jokes Angelo and I had exchanged afterwards, and watch his eyes darken the more I said Angelo's name. Look, Angelo... Angelo's Angelo. You really like pushing my buttons, don't you? Maybe. How about I push yours instead? I am more than open to the idea. Sometimes it was fun to play with fire. Alright, girl. You braver than me. I respect that. So, that was it. My exams were concluded. The final grades wouldn't be recorded for some time. I suspected the instructors wanted to sneak in a little vacation before going over the papers, but I wasn't worried. I thought I'd done pretty well. The June sunlight warmed my hair. It wasn't too hot. This was still England, after all, but it was nice. The flowers were in bloom, the water's ripples licked at the banks, fluffy clouds sailed by overhead. I had learned to love it here. But soon I would have to leave it all behind. Yeah, but did we solve the mystery? Did we pin it? Type. Late one night, late as in 2 in the morning late, there was a knock at my door. I shifted groggily out of bed and stumbled over to the door, opening it with a yawn. Yes? Aasi pushed her way into my room, smelling like the restroom of a gay nightclub? What does that smell like? I'm legitimately curious. She sat down square in the middle of my room, arms crossed. Do you want something? I was kind of in the middle of sleeping. Aasi glared at me. Okay. Look here, little Miss Perfect Shoes. Little Princess Perfect Plummy. She ran a hand across her face and I realized she was drunk. Why did you come to me when you're drunk? I'm here and I'm gonna tell you a few things, so you can't judge me anymore. Okay? But it's private. I wasn't going to tell you, but now I am, so listen up! Okay. You, as curious as I am about what you want to tell me, you would hate me in the morning for listening to your private matters. So I'm gonna get you to bed, and when you're sober tomorrow, if you want to tell me, that's cool. Aasi, you're drunk. Yeah? Yes, very drunk. I don't think this is okay. You wouldn't tell me this sober, would you? She blinked lazily at me. That's not the point. No. I took her arm and gently led her down the hall into her own bedroom. Good night, Aasi. If you really want to talk to me, do it in the morning. Besides, I'm tired. I closed the door and went back to my own room. I was just glad she hadn't attacked me. Or thrown up on me. Yeah, it's okay, Aasi. You can find me. You know where I live. The university exam period had concluded. Everyone's tests were done and the semester was officially over. To celebrate, we were having a tiny party at the hostel. Ashley had baked a cake, and James had even deigned to provide some ice cream. If he'd really wanted to be generous, he could have sprung for us all to party at the Crafty Crown, since he was a friend of the owner, but I knew better than to expect that much. The tension from my betrayal had slowly faded away. The real culprit behind the thefts had never been caught or punished, but it felt like most people had stopped holding it against me. Looking around the room, I realized I had less than 3 weeks left in England. It was almost time for me to go home. All the people that I had met here, all the adventures we had, dinners with Ashley, fights with Angelo, weird conversations with Mark, Peggy's effervescent energy, Danny's guidance, Chihyo's artwork, even Aasi and Brendan, even James. Soon I wouldn't be able to see them again. I had seen the same people every day for weeks, and that would no longer be the case. It was a strange feeling, but I was starting to realize that I wasn't all that sad, at least not yet. Maybe it was because I was already detaching myself from them to some extent. I had come here to broaden my horizons and learn how to live in different ways, to help find out what I wanted to be. Maybe part of me was ready for the next step, the next adventure, the next stage in my life. Well, there were a couple of weeks left. Whatever I wanted to get done, I had better make the best of it. Alright. We'll see how things wrap up, I guess. Wonder if she ever did get another job. She never did mention. You ready to go? Danny showed up at my door, looking nice as usual in his well-fitting clothes. He always dressed well. The only exceptions were when he was working out or not wearing clothes. Yup. I locked my door and followed Danny out of the hostel, practically skipping with excitement. So, what's the surprise? Surely you can tell me now that we're on the date.
Be patient, why don't you? We're nearly there.
We are? Danny gestured to a little shop on the corner just ahead of us. I'm like, oh, isn't this the cafe where he told you, his life story-ish? A little bit of his backstory. Cafe.
Not just a cafe, the cafe. The cafe where I first unveiled who I was to you. The cafe where you started to get to know the real me.
Huh. Started is right, man of 1,000 secrets. He waved an impatient hand.
Anyway, we're celebrating the start of our relationship here. It's symbolic. I need to talk to you about something. Don't get all nervous.
He must have noticed me tense up. I nodded and took some deep breaths.
It's nothing bad, but I thought, well, let's go in. After you.
He opened the door for me with a grand flourish, and I entered face warm. People were staring throughout the cafe, many women giving me approving nods. Thanks.
I'll get our drinks. You want to grab the table?
Sure. In accordance with Danny's symbolic tendencies, I politely asked a couple to move from the table we sat in when we first came to the cafe. Man, I would not have the guts. It wasn't hard to remember the table, the one right next to the entryway and right up against a window. The couple acquiesced, though I couldn't tell whether it was because I asked nicely or because they could sense something was up. Finally, Danny came round with the drinks, handing me a minty mocha. Like, she's moving back, right? So... like, is he about to ask her to marry him, or what? Then yours is, let me guess, that odd black tea thingy?
Odd black tea. I like it. They should use that officially in the menus. I'll pitch it to them next time.
He winked at me and I flushed again. Not fair.
Completely fair.
He grinned, taking a sip from his cup. Then he set his hands together on the table and looked at me.
Well then, I suppose I should get this started.
I nodded hesitantly.
Right.
He swallowed and tugged at the collar of his shirt. I tried to hold back my surprise. Danny was never nervous. Literally never nervous. Even when he told me he was an ex-convict, he hadn't seemed this nervous. He's totally gonna ask her to marry him, isn't he? What was going on?
Well, you see, I have come to ask you to make a choice.
Okay. He swallowed again, then interlaced his fingers together.
I have come to care about you a great deal. Yes, one might even be able to say that I have come to love you, Malia.
I opened my mouth, but he gave a short shake of his head. He wasn't finished.
In light of this, and in light of my disposition, I feel it is necessary to make this choice now, or at least in the coming few days before things get out of hand. You know what kind of man I am. You know my tendencies towards jealousy and possession. I am not proud of them, but you have been willing to accept me as I am. I never want to control your behavior, and I never want to manipulate you or make you feel as though you can't or shouldn't do something. I believe I've already made this clear to you. In order to do this effectively, I have been holding back somewhat. I have been not entirely thinking of you as mine, I suppose you could say. Of course, semantics and all that. You will never and can never truly be mine, as you are your own person. But what I am asking you to choose is this. Either you leave me now, and we can maintain a relationship as friends, or as nothing, if that suits you better. Or you accept that you are mine, now and forevermore, and I will follow you and be by your side forever, for better or for worse.
That sounded suspiciously like a marriage proposal.
So, Malia.
He looked at me, and for the first time in my history of knowing him, I saw fear in his eyes.
What do you choose?
That's too much. I gotta go. Of course, man. It sounds a bit like you're proposing to me.
Yes. Well.
He grinned and slipped something out of his pocket. Okay, he really was.
That would be because I am.
He slid out of his chair and down onto one knee in front of me. The people around us gasped. A few women cooed, and silence permeated the cafe.
Malia, I love you. Will you marry me and stay by my side forever?
I didn't even need to think about it. Of course I will, Danny. I love you too. He beamed. He slipped the ring out of the box and onto my finger, and I pulled him into a hug. I was not expecting this game to end in marriage, but hey, I am A-okay with it. The people in the cafe exploded into applause and cheers. The man behind the register pounded his fist on the counter.
Free drink for everyone! Cheers to the happy couple!
And the applause began anew. Woo, yeah! I didn't know how we were going to manage this. I had a ticket to leave the country in only a week. Can't you arrange them? Well, you know what? Whatever. But I looked into Danny's eyes, and he into mine, and I knew that I would be happy with him by my side. Forever. Look, I want to see you in a dress, girl. The next day, the enormity of the situation began to sink in. Were Danny and I really engaged? What was I going to tell my friends? My family? They knew I was dating Danny, of course, but they didn't know everything about him. Not even I knew everything about him. How soon could we do it? Where would we live? How would we manage? I didn't have any answers, not yet. Trying to explain this over the phone would be far too stressful, especially when I would be home next week anyway. Right now, I just wanted to spend as much time with Danny as I could. We had more celebrating to do. Ahem, winku winku. All the celebrations. That was a very nice proposal, Danny, though. It was my final weekend at the one hostel. I ran into James in the lobby, shuffling some papers behind the register.
Malia, so, you're leaving on Monday.
That's right. He handed the papers to me.
It's the long-term leaving checklist. What you have to clean and so on. Fill these out, sign it when you're done, leave them at the desk when you go. That way I don't have to get up early to see you out.
God forbid he have to do any work.
If you forget, or there's any problems, I'll bill you for it.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm comfortable just leaving this at the desk. Someone might steal it. I glared at him, trying to remind him that I was still mad about that, but he didn't seem to care.
Leave it with Danny then, or Oscar at the Crafty Crown.
Fine.
Yeah, so.
He scratched his armpit, staring at me intently. Oh boy, really?
Would you say you have been satisfied with your stay?
Overall, yes?
Would you recommend this trip to your friends?
Sure.
What did you like about it?
What is the point of all of this?
Answer the question.
Actually, it sucked. You know what? I made a lot of friends. It's true. I got to know a lot of different people and made new friends. That was a big deal for me. Why are you asking me this? James withdrew a tape recorder from behind his back and smiled.
Thank you for that. It'll come in handy.
What?
Have a safe trip home. I'll miss having you around.
He waved a hand carelessly at me, then left the hostel and headed off down the sidewalk. What a knob. Some people never change. Wait, did I just think knob? I had been in England too long. What a knob.
Heading out tomorrow, I see?
Aasi tracked me down in the kitchen during lunch. I glared at her. What do you want? A victory lap?
Yes, actually. To celebrate a successful operation. They say crime is difficult to get away with, but it seems like you and I proved otherwise. Does it still keep you up at night? That everybody thinks you're the culprit? Sure, they've tolerated you, but is anyone really still your friend?
Friendships don't break that easily.
Whatever you say. Anyways, I want to wish you a good trip home. I'm not going to follow you. Frankly, I have better things to do than make your life miserable.
Well, thank God for that.
Have a good life, sweet thing.
Ugh. Before I could sink too deeply into disgust or frustration, though, James entered the room carrying a tape recorder. Whoa! Ninja James!
Oh, well, what do you know?
He scowled and took after Aasi. Was she finally going to get what was coming to her? It wasn't exactly proof, even if James did have what she said on tape. It wasn't a real confession. Still, what goes around comes around. Aasi pissed people off everywhere she went. No matter what happened here, her own attitude would be her downfall someday. I'm just sad I'm not going to be here to see it. It was the night before I left. We were gathered in the kitchen, yet again eating one of Ashley's dishes. For me, it was probably for the last time. Nobody said anything about it, but it was clear everybody was around for a reason. I was leaving, and it was a solemn, subtle celebration for me. Or funeral, whichever. There might have been a louder party if the rest of the hostel had known about Danny and me, but we were keeping that story to ourselves. Only Aasi was missing, and no one knew why. She was always going out at night anyway, so people assumed she didn't care enough to turn up or had forgotten it was my last day. I wasn't going to waste my time thinking about her anymore. That part of my life was over and done with. We finished our meal. I helped Ashley clean up for the last time. If I didn't have to go back to a room that had been scrubbed clean with all of my clothes packed away in a suitcase, I could have assumed it was just another day at the hostel. I said goodnight to everybody and climbed the staircase to my room. That was it. Good night, England. See you in the morning. No more chibbies. It was earlier in the morning than I preferred to be awake, but I had to get going in order to reach Heathrow on time. I stepped out into the hallway, my suitcase in tow. As I did, several doors opened and people popped their heads out, evidently to say goodbye. It was as if they hit a tripwire somewhere and I had just rung an alarm. Peggy approached me, rubbing her eyes. I couldn't tell whether they were red because of lack of sleep or because she had been crying.
Malia, thank you so much for coming to the hostel. I know you didn't expect to get a bunch of people like us as friends, but I'm glad you did. It was ace getting to know you, and I'll miss you. You make a better sister than any of my sixth form friends. I won't forget you.
Never give up on trying to change the world, Peggy. We need people like you. She grinned and punched the air.
I won't!
I passed Angelo's room, which was still dark. Is Angelo still asleep? Should I wake him up or something?
No, he left. In the middle of the night, I think. Guess he doesn't like goodbyes.
Oh. The heck? Some people I have questions about, like, what's going on? I tried not to feel disappointed, but I couldn't help it. What were the last words I said to him? Was I mean? Did I tease him? Did I tell him thank you or that I would miss him? He was gone just like that. It was just like him to leave without considering anyone else's feelings. But then, maybe I was the one not considering his. Mark came bounding down the hall towards me, chipper as ever, even this early in the morning.
Hello, Malia. You're heading out then?
He grabbed my shoulders and spread his arms out to the sky.
Just think of the world that's waiting for you. Think of the endless possibilities. After all, someday everything will end and you will be forgotten. Isn't that wonderful? Go out and get your dreams. Take all the risks you can. Live a full life. Even if you make a bunch of mistakes, eventually in the long run nobody will be around to care. I can't imagine a more wonderful freedom than this.
Thanks, Mark. I'll miss your inspiring speeches.
I'm sure you will. That's why I prepared several on this mixtape for you.
He handed me an old-fashioned cassette tape, of all things. I didn't know they even made these anymore, but I took it with a smile. Thanks.
Anytime, anytime. If you need any help, just hit me up. I'm never too far away.
He waved and headed back to his room. I wasn't sure I would ever meet a stranger man than that one. Oh, you're leaving. Ashley's eyes filled with tears and I found myself in a panic. Don't cry, I'm not... You're not? Well, I am leaving, but don't cry. We'll always have the internet. And our memories? I won't be able to cook for you anymore. You were always my favorite person to cook for because you always said thank you and you helped me with the dishes. Ashley. You're such a nice person, Malia. I am truly sad to see you go. I wish you the best in your future endeavors. Wait, no, that's what you say to someone who's just been fired. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. It's all right, I understand. Thank you for everything, Ashley. You're really sweet. The world needs more people like you. She smiled, wiping her watery eyes. Thank you. I'll remember that.
Hey.
Jihyo stood in front of me, hands behind her back.
I hope you have a safe trip home. I hope everything goes well for you from now on.
I smiled. Thanks, Jihyo. I hope everything goes well for you too. You're a great artist, so I hope you'll be able to be successful. Jihyo stared at the floor and nodded.
You know, maybe I don't like art as much as I thought.
I stared at her. You're kidding. That's almost all you're ever doing. What are you talking about?
It's nothing. Just more drama from the creative types. You know how we can be, always worried about the muse and whatnot.
She bopped herself on the head with a bright smile. I didn't think she actually felt any better, but I also didn't think there was much I could do about it now. I wish I understood her. Well, I wish you the best. I truly think you can succeed. You have talent, passion, and discipline. That's everything you need. Don't give up, okay? She nodded, her hands behind her back once again.
I won't.
I was tempted to check and see whether her fingers were crossed, but she went into her room before I could say anything else. I took one last look around the front entrance of the hostel. No Brendan to be found either, I noticed. Last month, I was pulled into the dining room and told that I might not be able to live there anymore. At that time, I was horrified. I realized the hostel had become more of a home to me than I ever guessed it would. But now that I was leaving it, it felt different. It was only a temporary place for everyone after all. Memories of my bedroom in New York came flooding back to me, and the hostel was left looking shabby and stained in comparison. I had spent months here, studying, working, making friends, avoiding enemies, and now it was time to leave. In the full summer sun, the yard was a lot brighter than it had been when I first arrived. But it was still a mess. James hadn't made anyone tend it recently. I made the short walk from the door to the taxi with my heart in my stomach and tears pricking my eyes. I would miss it here. I really would. Danny helped get my suitcase into the trunk of the waiting taxi. You know, you were the first person I met when I got here. You helped me then, and you're helping me now. It seems fitting, like bookends.
Except that this isn't the end.
He pulled me in for a fierce, thorough kiss, and I swore I could hear a girl cheering in the background. Yes?
Ring me as soon as you get home. I need to know that you're safe.
I promise. I wanted to kiss him again, but if I didn't get into the taxi now, I might never leave. And that probably wasn't the best way to take the next step in our relationship. And so I opened the car door and climbed inside. As I did, I saw several heads poke out of the main hostel door. My friend smiled and waved goodbye to me as I left. The taxi driver started the car up and off we went down the street. That was it. Goodbye, hostel. Goodbye, England. As the car drove further, my sadness melted away, replaced with a sense of relief. I was going home. The adventure was over. Just like that. Hey, we're home. I stepped out of the arrivals area, searching the faces, eagerly scanning the outpouring of people. MALIA! I jumped. There they were, Nene and Jinsu, for the first time in a long while. Nene ran to me and jumped into my arms. I laughed as I hugged her, and Jinsu watched on like a proud father. I missed you so much. It's great to be back. Man, I have so much to tell you guys. Nene pulled away from me, mouth hanging open. Talk again! What? What do you mean? Oh my gosh, say something again! What are you going on about? Do I sound weird? You picked up a little bit of an English accent. How did that happen? What? No, you're a loony. I was only there for a few months. I still sound plenty American. No, there's something different in your voice. I can tell. I glanced at Jinsu, who shrugged.
She's got a point if you ask me. So tell us about your trip. What did you do? What did you learn?
And so I tried to sum up everything I could, everything I had learned, everything I saw, all the friends I'd made and left behind. Our little girl's all grown up. Nene's eyes filled with tears, and I sighed. Jinsu clapped me on the shoulder.
So, is there a special someone that you're going to see again?
I couldn't help grinning like an idiot. No, like a big, giddy, lovesick fool. Oh my god, you've got a secret. You always look like that when you've got a secret. What is it? Is your boyfriend on the flight? Are you bringing him home? No, nothing like that. Yet. I'll tell you everything later. I promise. Let me see your hand. Nene grabbed hold of my hand and let out a high-pitched squeal. Ah, a ring! You got a ring! Jinsu whistled.
You certainly did have a time, didn't you?
You could say that. We headed over to the baggage claim area, watching the luggage pour out of the opening like flies out of a frog's mouth.
So here's my question. Was it worth all the trouble? Did you find what you were looking for?
Was it worth all the trouble? What a hard question to answer. All the friendships I made, the experiences I had, all of these things were my own doing. If there was anything I regretted not doing or anything I regretted saying, those things were on me. It was within my power the entire time to create an experience that was worth the trouble, so to say that it wasn't would be an admission of failure on my part. And how would I know what it was worth anyway? I had experiences that changed me, changed how I thought of myself as a person, changed who I believed I could become. I was a different person because I had those experiences. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't go back now. And why should I? Definitely. It was definitely worth it. Jinsu grinned and pulled me into a hug.
That's what I wanted to hear. I'm proud of you. I really am.
Ooh, there's your bag. I'll get it for you.
Let's head home. I'm sure you're jet-lagged as all get out.
Yeah, I just want to sleep.
You can figure out where to go from here once you've got some shut-eye and some food in your belly.
Another chapter of your life closes. But I guess the new one's going to be just as much in your hands as this one, eh? Too much, too heavy for me, just let me go to sleep. Okay. Come on, you can sleep in the car. Together we left the airport. I remembered the night before I left New York for England all those months ago. I had stared up at the ceiling, thinking I was crazy for wanting to go abroad, wondering what the future held for me. Now I had the same feeling, but I no longer felt like the decision was out of my hands. England seemed miles and years away, as if it had been one long dream, as if I had just woken up. The same thoughts as ever turned around in my head. What now? What did I want to do with my life? But now I could fall asleep with a smile on my face. I was excited. I couldn't wait to see what the future held for me. That alone made the trip worth it. 1 year later. Do go on. Do I have to click? Yes. Okay. We entered the doorway of our private resort cabin with long sighs and deep breaths. It smells amazing out here. I never knew the air could be so fresh.
It's why I insisted on this island instead of Hawaii or the Bahamas. Everyone goes to those places, but this is more of an undiscovered secret.
Danny took our suitcases into the bedroom and I went into the kitchen to search for the glasses. When I found one, I grabbed the water pitcher to fill it and a golden gleam caught my eye. It was still odd for me to see the large rock on my finger. Danny didn't give me a diamond. They're a dime a dozen, apparently. So instead he fitted my finger with a multicolored opal. Nice! I like that. The greens, reds, and blues mixed and shifted together in the light. Danny said when he gave it to me that it reminded him of us and the multiple parts of ourselves that mixed together. That's so sweet. At the wedding.
I wasn't sure I'd ever find anyone I could share all of my colors with. I didn't think anybody out there could accept me, nor did I think they should have to go through that. But then you came along and changed everything. You changed my whole perspective. You changed me. You changed my life. And that is why I am now taking you to be my wife. I don't want to live without you, not even for a second.
I smiled and ran a finger over the stone. Then 2 arms wrapped around me from behind.
You like it, I see.
You put so much thought into it, how would I not? He rested his head on the nape of my neck and took a deep breath. Don't! I'm sure I don't smell too good after the plane.
You smell great. You smell like you. But my dear, we have some business to attend to before we can really start to relax.
What is it? Do we have to check in somewhere else too? Danny shook his head, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Ah.
We haven't consummated the marriage. You won't be officially mine until we do so.
I flushed. I guess that's right. We should make that happen. I wouldn't want to be somebody else's. His eyes flashed and I grinned.
You're a wicked one, Malia.
No, I'm definitely not.
That's why I'm glad we came to a private island. I won't have to share you with anyone.
He bent down and swept me up into his arms. I laughed as I clung to his neck and he walked me bridal style into the bedroom. Oh, wow. Okay, this is a line.
Get ready, Malia. No one will be able to hear you scream in here.
Perfect. I've always been a screamer. And so the rest of our lives together began not with a spark, but with fire. And this fire would never go out. Alana Bira. Nice. Aw, I wish we had gotten one more picture. That would have been nice. What is this, though? These are new options. Ah. Okay. Befriended rival. Worst ending. Gallery complete. Romance these people. Ah, you can get a neutral. I guess I gotta figure out how to do that. Maybe just not... Maybe I just don't have to accept his marriage proposal. Alright, well I'm gonna try and get Danny's neutral ending next, I guess. And we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 pictures. Alright. I wish we had got one more picture at the end after they got married, but that's okay. Well, I enjoyed Danny's good ending. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I liked him. It took me a little while to warm up to Danny, but I respect him a lot. It's not easy to make a new path for yourself, and he works very, very hard on it, and I really appreciated that he respected Malia's boundaries and would stop when she wanted him to, and just would stand back and let her take the wheel some of the time. So I'm impressed by him a lot. I don't think I personally would ever get together with someone like Danny. I'd be too scared. But I will be in awe of Malia for being brave enough to do that. And I do quite like him. So I guess next time we'll try and get his neutral ending and see how that goes. Until then, I will see you later.